All right, so here we go. We've got a ton of Diablo 4 news to go over today. And yes, I have some excellent news about the mount, who's getting quite the upgrade in the future. A lot of you are going to be very, very happy about this news. Now, unfortunately, Season 1 has also introduced a mechanic that, if used in a party or even near random players, is absolutely destroying and ruining player builds. I still cannot get over that this is even in the game, so we definitely need to highlight this, and you need to actively avoid using this supposedly best Malignant Heart in the game right now if you are in a group or near random players. But also, we do have some fantastic news about Diablo 4 Season 1. Despite a lot of the negativity, there's still a player base here that is very much engaging and enjoying the game. But yeah, you know what? Check this out right here. So I applied a Diablo 4 theme to the Ultimate Gaming browser. So you're probably wondering, what browser am I using? Well, I'm actually using Opera GX. Now, what's cool about Opera GX is it gives you the full power to completely customize your experience through mods, which include new backgrounds, themes, colors, music, and sound effects, and much more. Now, the mod store offers free mods and even community-created mods, and you can even mix and match them as well. So upgrade right now to the best browser for gamers. Join me and download Opera GX for free on PC and mobile by clicking the link in that description below. Check it out. Now, apps like Twitch, Discord, Facebook Messenger, and more are also directly integrated into Opera GX, so you can easily check up on everything in one place. And Opera GX has an import tool that allows you to quickly import all of your settings from your previous browser to Opera GX, like browsing history, bookmarks, and cookies. And not only does Opera GX have its own extension library, but it's also compatible with every Google Chrome extension, which is super useful. And you gotta love the GX corner because it keeps you in the know. It lets you know about the latest free games and best deals, as well as keeps you up to date on the latest game releases and gaming news. And yes, your GX mods will also change up the background of GX Corner as well, which is a really nice touch. So yeah, join me right now and download Opera GX for free on PC and mobile by following the link in the description below. Check it out. All right, we're going to start out with the excellent news about the mount. Check it out right here from Joe Shelley of Blizzard, who says this: "We're going to be allowing the mount charge to break through barricades. I realized I didn't state this explicitly during the Diablo 4 campfire chat today. This is fantastic news. One of the most annoying things about exploring the open world, for me at least, is running into the barricade, even when you're on the mount, trying and struggling to work around that. So kudos to Blizzard for adding this. I feel like it's also going to add an element to the mount that's going to make the mount feel worthwhile and give it that gameplay mechanic where your mount actually feels powerful. I think they should add even more to this, perhaps. So hopefully they continue to expand the mount going forward. However, with that being said, we did get a reply. Check it out right here. Next, make climbing or descending a ladder reset the mount cooldown. It makes sense for it to have one after fighting or using the dismount attack, but to dismount just to ascend a ladder, then have to stand atop for it for 10 seconds to remount is oof. And we have a reply here from Joe Shelley who says, "You got it." So that's also another improvement that's going to be applying to the mount. Now, I know that you guys probably want further improvements as well to the cooldown rate and that sort of thing. Sound off on what else you would like to see changed and improved for the mount. But finally, we're discussing the mount. We're hearing Blizzard talk about it. I've said previously, hey, why are they not talking about the mount? Now, also, we have some further replies about this. Check it out on Reddit. It says, "Thank baby Jesus, I can't count the number of times I had to dismount. I'd use my strongest skill just in spite to kill the two dudes and the barricade." And then also we have this one right here. It says, "Good addition. I also hope they make it so horse speed is not relative to your cursor's distance from the player. Honestly, if it were up to me, the horse would just be a set move speed bonus on top of whatever the player is." Great point there. A lot of people agreed. And then we have finally this one right here. "I personally don't care about being able to charge through them. I'll gladly jump off the mount and kill them. What I hate is after I did that, I still have 8 seconds of my 10-second mount cooldown. I understand the cooldown if you get knocked off your mount, but remove the cooldown from the normally mounting or unmounting. It's especially annoying in areas where you have to climb up stuff, or if you want to nuke an elite really fast but still have to wait on the mount cooldown afterwards." So, I mean, Blizzard is solving, I guess, half of that problem with the fact that they will be addressing that when climbing ladders, but I get where you're coming from. Honestly, I don't know why there's so much focus on this cooldown with the mount. Again, I think it does involve extending playtime percentages and that sort of thing. I'm going to actually talk about that in another video, upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. It's actually very fascinating. But anyway, let's keep going. We got to talk about a mechanic that was introduced with Season 1 and one of the best, supposedly best, Malignant Hearts that you can actually get, and how it's actually hurting a lot of player builds, especially when you're in a party or near randoms or even in a Legion event or world boss encounter. This is a huge, massive problem. I'm surprised it's in the game. And again, I might do a separate video about this as well to really do a PSA about this one. So here we go. We have CO who says this: every time there is someone with the Barber Heart in the party, my build stops working because I depend on hitting and damage monsters. Could you please change it to absorb only the damage of the person using it? Sounds simple enough. And Joseph Papora of Blizzard says, we'll look into that, but we got to talk about this a little bit more because the community is really diving into what's going on here. And this is why you should really avoid using this Malignant Heart currently until this is addressed. So check it out. It says, am I the only one that thinks Barber Heart is ruining the game experience for other players? Which is another way of saying it's ruining the experience for everyone. Now, it goes on to say, I mean, it's good for more damage and boss fight, but when someone in my party uses it, I can't really see my damage numbers or apply my skill effects like poison as a rogue. Seeing the health bar not going down also makes me thinking if I'm doing damage to the mobs. What do you guys think of this heart? And there's a lot of controversy related to it. And we have this one right here. Department Minimum says it's definitely annoying to play with, should only apply to the user, not the whole group. I am shocked that Blizzard completely missed this, but we have a more extensive post as to what exactly this heart is doing. It says, Wrathful Heart of the Barber is kind of insane and bad at the same time. It says, so I got this heart on my TB Rogue pretty early into tier 4 and equipped it for testing. I gotta say this thing has insane damage potential, but it seems to have a big problem with it while playing group content. So basically what it does, as soon as you crit, you pretty much barely don't do damage to the enemy at all for the full duration of the power. After it absorbed all the damage, it explodes quite heavily to very big numbers. The bad part, it absorbs the damage from other players as well. Doesn't matter grouping or just overworld activities. I was doing a Legion event and the bosses basically didn't take any damage for the duration of the absorb. After that, it basically one-shot the boss. I don't know how to feel about that because in some cases it slows down and it doesn't seem fun for other players to not see any damage on the boss health bar for the whole duration apart from the big crit after it explodes. Even worse, you can't even do anything against it. If anyone in the open world runs that, you just have to live with it. Opinions. And another thing about this heart that's a little bit concerning is it feels like if people really pick up on the fact that this heart is doing this to other players, they can kind of troll other players as well. You got to remember that too. So yeah, this definitely needs to be addressed. It looks like Blizzard is, of course, looking into this, which is great news. And I hope that the fix makes it into patch 111 or even as a hot fix. Again, I'll keep you guys in the know when that is addressed. But for now, I recommend holding off on using the Barber Heart when in random events or group content because it seems to be problematic for sure. World bosses, that's a different story. If you are in a group and you all agree that, hey, this is how you want to play and you want to do that massive damage at the tail end of that power, go for it. Just be aware that you might want to let your party know that you're using that. All right, so yeah, we got to talk about this one as well from icyveins.com. It says, a warning about Malignant Heart inventory management. Now, this is a basic warning, but a good one. It goes on to say this right here. You're scrolling up. It says, here's a pretty basic tip when you probably figured out already, but just in case it didn't occur to some players, we thought it best to remind them. This probably happened to some players with regular gems even before the season, as moving them around your inventory without paying too much attention can lead to them being stuck in socketed items. However, while that isn't a problem for regular gems, which can be unsocketed, it is a big problem for Malignant Hearts. If you get a heart stuck in a random inventory item, you can't take it out again, no matter what. Now, this tells us that there's a problem with how inventory is actually laid out. They're definitely working on improvements for gems, but if they do introduce any other seasonal mechanics like Malignant Hearts, they need to be mindful of just throwing them into your inventory like that, especially if they cannot be unsocketed. So this is a problem with Season 1, and hopefully they can learn from this one going forward. All right, so we also have some interesting official news from the official Diablo 4 Twitter. Check it out here. It says, the battle against corruption wages on in Diablo 4 Season of the Malignant. Now, check it out. So how many characters have been created? It says seasonal characters created over 7 million. That's actually pretty impressive. And out on the subreddit, this was discussed. It says 7.1 million characters created in Season 1, Week 1. Seems like a huge number, even if 700,000 accounts made 10 characters each, which is pretty unrealistic. Even if one person made 2 to 3 characters, that's anywhere from 2 to 3.5 million-ish peeps making a seasonal character after the first week. And I gotta highlight this response here. It says, the comments on this post are so depressing. I understand healthy levels of criticism, especially concerning ABK, but everyone on this subreddit just wants the game to die. What's the point of following a game subreddit at this point? Yeah, some people are just overwhelmed by the negativity. I think in gaming in general, I have covered many different games. One thing I notice is that negativity, the voice of negativity, I guess I would call it, is far more vocal than positivity. Just think of any time you've had a positive experience and you want to post about it versus a negative experience. It's just a natural thing that happens. But yeah, I'm kind of curious overall, like speaking overall currently right now, how are you enjoying Diablo 4 as a whole? With preseason versus season 1, that sort of thing. I'm curious. Post a comment down below. I might highlight it in a future video. But yeah, let's keep going. Let's talk about this one. It says, if Diablo 4 had as many features as Path of Exile, most of its player base would quit. This was a hot topic here by Chorn Lane, who says, this is something Path of Exile players need to understand. Your game is nice. I've played 3 seasons of Path of Exile, but its biggest flaw is something called feature creep. Interesting. Every season I've played, by the time I get 2 maps, my stash and inventory is filled with so many baubles and curios that I simply get overwhelmed. I look one of them up, see that I need 3 other pieces that require other pieces to access those pieces. I'm still one of those players that gives up on trying to find a fractured wall in Dell. I have no idea how to play Heist effectively. There's a system where you have to interrogate, release, or kill some people, and it's presented like the Pepe Sylvia board, and I just click whatever and have no clue if it's right or not. There are links in colors and corruption and implicits on every piece of gear that make my head spin. There are 2 seasons I played where I never even got a 5 link, let alone a 6 link. Oh, but if you found 4 shards of the Orb of Kranth and gambled the right glimpse of Gorenfall, you could have crafted a 6 link after investing 200 fusing orbs on the altar of Kalento. And I'm like, whatever, I'm done. To everyone who thinks Path of Exile is the better game, I implore you to give it a whirl. Navigating one of the most complex systems in gaming is your cup of tea. Awesome. Enjoy. But please don't try to turn Diablo 4 into Path of Exile. Yes, I want there to be more to do in Diablo 4. I think more will be added over time, but I also want it to be accessible without constantly Googling information. If the Path of Exile dev team designing the Malignant season, there would be countless threads on how to spawn Uber Varshan, because it would be locked behind one of the most mercurial and nubilous methods known to man. You would probably have to collect a Malignant Heart of each type, combine on the table of malignancy found only at the end of the Uber Malignant Tunnel, with shards found across the game world that have a chance to appear after combining fragments of Arshan's soul. But only do you guys see where I'm going here. Diablo 4 has its flaws. It actually has a bunch, but I think it has a good shell and can only get better. Path of Exile is what it is. You either understand it or you don't. And if you are the latter, the dev team is going to ignore you entirely to focus on its hardcore player base. At the end of the day, you know, Path of Exile is a different beast as opposed to Diablo 4. They both cater to different audiences, in my opinion. But it's going to be interesting when Path of Exile 2 comes out, because I feel like right now, the Path of Exile dev team is aware that they do have a feature creep problem. That's a great way of describing it, by the way. In that there's way too many systems on top of systems, and they're kind of doing like a fresh reset with Path of Exile 2 with updated visuals and that sort of thing and new mechanics. So I think that's why we're going to be getting Path of Exile 2 here. I believe it's releasing in 2024. But yeah, they're different games. I think you can enjoy each and every single one of them. It's just that I like that they're different games. You know what I mean? That's okay that they're different. It doesn't mean one is better over the other. But I do know that some will enjoy one over the other, and that's also okay. All right, so a PSA for you all. This is an important one. Check it out. It says, PSA, you can actually salvage sigils at the blacksmith. If you did not know, as the title says, just figured this out, save you a trip to the occultist. So if you did not know that, seems like a lot of people are unaware. This should help you out big time as well. All right, so now it's time to go over your top comments. Remember to leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. So yeah, the question is, what was my most recent video about? Check it out right here. Huge patch 1.1.1 updates. Every class is getting big upgrades. Necromancer, Rogue, and more. Let's see what you guys have to say about the Campfire Chat or Campfire Chat New Game Plus. Let's get into it. So we have this one right here from Bane Fate 6275, who says, as a Meteor Sorcerer main, these buffs are huge. Fire builds that don't rely on Flame Wall or Ice Nova just got some big buffs. The Paragon buffs finally made Meteor viable as a main damage dealer. Glad to see Sorcerer is getting balance within its own class now. Yeah, things are definitely heading in the right direction. Some of you were disappointed with certain aspects of, you know, say the Barbarian, like, oh man, what's going on? Why aren't they buffing Whirlwind Barbarian more? Or something that's already powerful, bring it back up to what it was in the beta. But what I've noticed is they're trying to buff builds that you would otherwise ignore, and I think the reason for that is replayability, so that you go back and let's say season 2 you want to try the Barbarian again and you're like, whoa, okay, this is actually viable now, let me try this. That makes sense to me in terms of replayability for sure. All right, next up we have this. While the buffs to the Sorcerer class are nice, I don't think it is enough. The class needs that third enchantment slot, and if it is added, players can further improve their builds and possibly keep up with the other classes. So again, you know, although we are seeing improvements, yes, there still needs to be work that has to be done. I'm pretty sure Blizzard knows that. All right, so we have 2009 Misscat, who says, thank you for being positive about the game in this episode. There is so much negativity that's frustrating to watch the news about the game. I also didn't enjoy the big nerf patch 1, but if anyone has played a live service game before, buffs and nerfs will happen. Just go with the flow and know the devs are trying to make a great game. Play what is fun in the moment and switch to what is fun in the changes. Not everyone will be happy. Whiner's gonna whine. I also, for the most part, have been enjoying the current state of the game in spite of the issues. I just know that someday things will change and get better. The devs have been great, trying to listen to all the whining, so people just tell them thank you for once and keep up the hard work. We're lucky they care about taking out money in the original launch. They always want to make more money, so they will care about the game for a long time to come. It's the motivator, of course. But yeah, you know, overall, when it comes to the streams and their level of communication, it has been super impressive. They've also fine-tuned how they are communicating with us. They aren't ignoring the feedback of the streams themselves, and they're like, you know what, we could do better. And that is so crucial. So many times I have seen dev teams just like blatantly ignore the community, like, we just don't care what you think. This team, they genuinely do seem like they care. Yes, there is a part of that team, the corporate part, I guess you would say, that is very interested in the bottom line and making money, clearly, of course. But hopefully that means that we get really good high quality expansions down the road, and that this game ends up being exactly what we want in a few years down the road. And yes, that's ultimately going to be up to the developers, but I have to highlight this one right here as well. We have Old Willie 7594, who says, even with the change to increase Fury regen to basic skills, shouts will still be mandatory for Barb. Barb needs the unforgiving talent from Diablo 3, so they generate Fury all the time, so cooldown reduction and shouts aren't mandatory. Something like that would be nice. Replace the talent that increases the Fury generated by basic skills by 15%. Just change it. Do 0.5 Fury generated per second per point. 3 talent points would give 1.5 Fury per second. Would be amazing and make more room for a lot more builds without shouts. So you never know, they could be headed in that direction. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't just start there, because a lot of people agree with you on that one, and they're so heavily reliant on cooldown reduction as this feature. I'm not too sure why. You're constantly trying to find ways to reduce cooldown reduction. figure that out, when in reality you should be focusing more on how do I make my build more interesting and cool. So yeah, that's my opinion about it, but it seems like in the future, as they have officially said, they're interested in exploring cooldown reduction more and changing that up for the better. But there it is. Thank you all so much for the comments. Love reading all of your comments. I find it so fascinating, your ideas, and I really do believe, and I'm serious, I really do believe your ideas, your thoughts that you post here and on the forums and on Reddit are really changing the game for the better. We're already seeing it. We're seeing how you can teleport straight to Nightmare Dungeon. We're already seeing improvements with the mount. So yeah, they are listening. It's just taking time. And I think that things will happen a little bit quicker down the road because they don't have to worry about developing the game simultaneously. And I think they're working their way through the big patches after launch. And then once they're through that, I think they could really focus up on what you guys really want. So I'm hoping that I'm right about that, by the way. I'm speculating, but we'll have to see. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more Diablo 4 news and updates. I have you guys covered, and I will see you all next time. Take care.